Lojoya sampo pa gyu tashi pa tuche tempe trinle yarngo da pelge drolor zambe zebrachi pande lame shabla Omo a guru vajra dara suma timo nisha sanekar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajradar Suma Timo Nisha Sanekar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajra Suma Timo Nisha Nishri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajra Dara Suma Timo Nishasa Uta Varda Nishri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajra Dara Nishri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajra Dara Suma Timo Nishas Uta Varda Nishri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajra Dara Suma Timo Nishas Om Guru Vajra Dara Suma Timonish Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajra Dara Suma Timonishasan Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajra Dara Suma Timo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajra Dara Suma Timo Nishasane Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajra Dara Suma Timo Nishasane Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke kudan da gelo, pakyuke sundan da genga, pakyuke tukdan da geyi, tenyerme çıktı çingelo, makyuke kudan da gelo. Makyuke sundan da genga, makyuke tukdan da geyi, tenyerme çıktı çingelo. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Sangye Chedan Tsogi Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chedan Tsogi Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chishe Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chedan Tsogi Chonam La Jancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho. Nel Buddha,
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Namo Yalhai Keda Ludan Jinke Rudanda Mikenamda Ruakunge Tranam Chitsampa Tamche Ketu Dagi Cheten Tamche Ketu Dagi Cheten. Una volta che abbiamo compreso
Once we've understood
che riteniamo importante per noi,
something that we think is important,
è importante per noi
it's
cercare
important to try to
rigenerare
regenerate
comprensione,
that state of understanding.
portare a galla quella conoscenza,
Bring that knowledge
galla quella
and that
esperienza,
experience to light
presente nella
so that it's more and more present in our lives, so that it becomes actually spontaneous and always present. One text that I recommend, together with this one that we're following with the Lam Rim years ago, it's Lam Rim.
che sarebbe
It's
Lam Rim,
the Lam Rim, so the graduated stages of the path,
nuda, cruda,
and the raw,
come il cucchiaio per cogliere l'essenza.
it's the raw experience, like taking a spoonful to take the experience. We have this text. We made the translation a few years ago and printed it. It's a text that is not very well known. It's Paponka Dechin Nyingpo, So one of the most important masters of his time, and he was the master of Lama Ganchen. And when he was studying, he would go to his master, who he would receive teachings from him, and then he would take something and he'd go meditate on it. And then when he had some kind of understanding or insight and experience, he would write it down, like in personal notes. And then he would go back to his master and he'd give him the next steps. Many years later, one of his disciples finds at his house this manuscript of the various notes of when he was doing his Lam Rim retreat. And he said, "Oh, what is this?" And Papoka Rinpoche says, "Oh, it's nothing, just some notes." He said, "What do you mean notes? It's absolutely precious." And it was had also been a little bit eaten by some kind of insect, this rice paper. And so he gave to his disciple the permission to write down, transcribe, and prepare all these notes. So they're very important parts, and he puts a lot of effort into recognizing the preciousness of this life and the awareness of our death, our mortality. And he said, when you think about the certainty of death and the certainty of the uncertainty of the time of death, if you get goosebumps, that kind of adrenaline that comes, like, for example, I add, if you are driving and you almost have an accident, you feel something. It's not just in your head. That's what you need to feel when you ask yourself the question, am I going to die? And answer yes. This is what you can say, that one has experienced a non-conceptual a non-conceptual realization of the certainty of one's death. It's also possible to imagine your own death. Usually, like really tragic experiences are used, like dying in a car crash or something. I personally, I wouldn't use something like that. Instead, if we follow an analytical meditation, we look at ourselves in the eyes very seriously. We ask ourselves questions to which we really already know the answer. And when I talked about the 4 questions, I realized that maybe there was a little bit of confusion there. So I'd like to pick that up again more clearly. The first question is very easy. So, will I die? We give ourselves the time to answer one day after the other until that answer comes from a deeper place within. So we should really try to answer not automatically. And then the second question is when. Also, not automatically let's answer. And the answer is, I don't know. The third one, I wasn't that clear on this one before. So the question is, if I were to die today, what would I leave to others and what would I take with me? Let's imagine that we die today. What do I leave to others? What memories do I leave? What good memories or negative things? One reflection that I've done is, it actually left me a little bit perplexed. But if I died today, to planet Earth, did I give more or did I take more from the planet? I'm talking about nature. What I consumed, what I gave. Am I at least have I broken even Or have I used up much more than what I've given? I let everyone reflect on this for themselves. I think that with a pre-industrial lifestyle, that more or less we broke even. But today, given our lifestyle, it's difficult to get to that break-even part. So what do I leave to others? What kind of example, what kind of memories? If I were to die today, what am I leaving for others? And what am I bringing with me? I mean, who am I in front of my death? What are the positive aspects, negative aspects, the deep habits that I have, these predispositions? So the third question, if I were to die today, what would I leave for others and what am I taking with me? And the fourth question is, what am I doing today? What do I already doing? What do I want to do to cultivate something positive for others and for myself? Cultivate that which I take with me. And here there's at the basis, there's the foundation of our basic necessities. I want to start with a verse in the Guru Puja, which is verse number 85, which helps us regenerate what we already know, but somehow we forget. So we use questions, we use these verses to regenerate this awareness. The verse says,
Nyurtu jikpe tsul tongnes, töme tsedi chawa miyawar, tönde nimbo lembro chingilo, comprendendo che questo corpo dotato di libertà
realizing how this freedom and endowments is found only once. Remember, we talked about freedom and endowments, that we're free from certain sicknesses, free from being in prison or extreme states of poverty and situations that would not allow us to practice the Dharma. And we have these endowments, this richness of the Dharma, the desire to practice, the wealth of good health, comfortable situation. So what are these positive things that we have? So understanding, realizing how that this life that is realizing how this freedom and endowments is found but once, is difficult to obtain and is easily lost. That's the certainty of death. We seek your blessings to partake of its essence, make it worthwhile, and not be distracted by the meaningless affairs of this life. So I ask for blessings for what? To not only keep this awareness of the preciousness of this life and the uncertainty, and the certainty of death and the uncertainty of the moment of death, but also the blessings, so that I can maintain this awareness and keep myself from being distracted. So how can we do this in our daily life? And there's the rest of the Lam Rim. But I just, before getting into the rest of the Lam Rim, and we little by little we'll get there, but there are these 5 points that explain to us how we can prepare ourselves for death. And here they are named towards the end of the Lam Rim verses. Verse 112, where it says, should we not have completed the points of the path at the time of death? What does that mean? If at the time of death we haven't realized on a non-conceptual level love towards myself, love towards others, and a correct view of reality, and also a deep level of peace and joy and stability. So if at that time of death, we haven't realized the path. We seek your blessings, we ask your blessings so that we may be led to a pure land, either through the instructions of implying the 5 forces or by the forceful means of enlightenment, the Guru's transference of mind, of consciousness. And that makes reference to the 2 methods. They're complementary. They're, these 2 the methods to prepare ourselves for death. One is called the 5 forces, and the other one is called the Poa, or this transference of consciousness of the Guru. So the 5 forces in front of death are about preparing ourselves for death. Very often, even when you're in a state of a very aggressive sickness or some kind of diagnosis, I don't mean to say that it's a privilege to have a sickness, to have such a diagnosis that's bringing you so clearly towards death, but it is a privilege to prepare oneself, to be able to prepare oneself for one's own death. And so when someone is in that situation and one asks oneself, well, what do I do? How can I prepare myself now? And there are different levels of preparation. The first level, the foundation, I call it the insurance for a good rebirth. I mean, if there were really insurance for a good rebirth, maybe 20 euros a month or just something we put aside, some kind of insurance for your whole life to ensure a good rebirth, that wouldn't hurt, would it? And it exists, but we don't pay with money. We pay with lifestyle, with behavior, conduct. And these are the 5 powers. So let's look at them quickly. The first power is called Karpa Sangikitop, which is the power of white virtue. And simplifying its meaning a little bit, that first power is the power to relate in a healthy way to material things. We relate to material things as a means and not as an end. Material things have 2 functions. It's interesting. So on one hand, in front of death, they have no function. I mean, after death, what can I take with me? Nothing. On the other side, let me just give you an example. Starting from the negative side, let's say I go and take poison, and I poison a village's water source. Every day, I add a little bit of poison to this water source. And after a while, and I create a system that actually adds this poison to their water source. After a while, I die, but that system continues. But I'm still responsible for the negative things that are happening even after my death. Still responsible even if I'm dead. For good things or bad things, if I build a hospital, for example, and then I die, that hospital that I built keeps helping people. Am I still responsible for a part of that benefit? So the material things, it's interesting because we die and we can't bring anything with us. But on the other side, material things that have a very strong link with us that we possess today. I mean, what do we possess today? Those things that we can choose today, how they're used. We can decide how to use these material things. And at the end of the day, money is a form of energy. And once the money is mine, I have the freedom to decide how I want that money to be used. It's an energy that I can't bring with me after my death, but according to how it's directed and how it's used before my death, it's creating an energy that continues to be connected to me. So that first power is understanding that material things are not an end in themselves, and try to relate to material going beyond the simple idea of owning things. So I observe an object that I possess, and I ask myself, am I at your service, or are you at my service? So if I realize that object is not at my service, so I can give it away, I can sell it, I can throw it away. But let's not try to keep things that use up our energy, our space, our time. They use up a part of our life, and they don't have any function for us. Is that clear? Our tendency in accumulating, in Tibetan is said, so people need things and things need owners. So once I have something, I need to take care of that thing. Right, rightly so. But that taking care also takes up some mental space, physical energy, etc., etc. So it takes up a part of my life. We have a physical body, and we need material things. But the question is, first of all, that material thing is that thing at my service, or am I at the service of this thing? Does it have a function for me? Once I had spoken, I talked about this for a long time with our dear friend Donna Norma, who left her body very recently at 89 years old, and no. And every time I would see her, I'd say, "Oh, Donna Norma, I pray for your long life," and she would always say, "No, I have my bags packed." And so I talked about this during teachings once, and then she came to me after and she said, "Lama, I have a problem. I have things that don't really have a function for me, but I am too attached to them. These are my jewels, my jewelry." And she says, "I don't use them anymore." You know, she was her husband had been the head of the court system in Brazil, and so she would participate in many important ceremonies and parties, and she had the beautiful jewelry. She was really quite vain. And she was a very beautiful person. Anyway. And she said, "I don't use these jewels anymore, but I'm too attached to them to give them away. What I do is every once in a while, I open up my jewelry, and I remember, oh, this I bought with my husband and that time, and this was another time we were together. This was given to me by someone else. This comes from my mother." I mean, so I said, they do have a function. They have a function of reconnecting you to beautiful memories. That is its function. So it's important for us to understand what function our possessions have for us. So that first part of this power of the white virtue is knowing how to use material things virtuously, or we try to go beyond the attachment to material things and seeing that material things at the time of our death have no meaning, and direct either before or after our death, and direct them so that they can continue to generate virtuous things, so that can keep on generating positive energy, so that they can sustain us. Traditionally in Tibet, I don't know if it's still done like this, when somebody would come, the family. So when somebody would die, regardless of whether it was a lot or a little, a third of everything that one had is given away, not to the heirs, but not on behalf of the heirs, but on behalf of the person who has passed on. So, for example, you give to the hospital that will continue to give medicine to people over time. You know, so. So if I add just a little bit to the ocean, you know, I'm part of the ocean, a couple drops in the ocean, or a little bit of money to the hospital, I'm part of that system. And today, legally, we have this possibility of writing out a will and writing down what we want to happen to our possessions. And there are two very important sides here. So writing a will, so when we write out a will, then we're taking seriously the fact that we're going to die, number one. And it's crazy how people feel fearful when they write out their will. And sometimes you can rewrite it as many times as you want, but it's important to take this formal time to write out to write out your will, and it has a lot of power to write it all out. If should I ever die, so I want this to be like that and that to be like this, trying to give a good direction to our positions without creating too many without trying to make it too complicated. So give a direction without being attached to what one leaves. So you give a virtuous direction, positive direction, without attachment. This is ideal. A very practical advice. For example, you can begin by opening up a closet at home, and you ask yourself, what is useful to me and what is not useful to me? What has a function for me? Maybe there are things that the function is to help me feel secure, because maybe one day I'll need this. So maybe that is a function for someone. But if we begin by separating things, and we say, if we see something for which we're attached, but something that we don't use, I've had my own experience. I moved houses. Actually, I moved, but within the same house. So from Lama Ganchen's house, in Lama Ganchen's house, I had a room, and then I moved to another part of the house, and many of the things I didn't take with me. And then I realized And I really realized that so much of what I had was just not useful after 2 years, 3 years, and you still haven't touched those things. That somebody did this practice. If there's something like that you don't use for 2 years, then just give it away. Don't even open it if it's I mean, you don't need to be that extreme. You can open the drawer and see what's in that drawer. But if we realize that, what's in that box or what's in that drawer or that whatever's in there has no real function, let's free ourselves from that, because those objects with us without a function for us, they only use up our energy. They block us a little bit, and they don't bring any real benefit. And it's a little bit difficult at the beginning. But then it's a sensation of freedom. Just to give it away. My master, a year before dying, he took everything he had. He gave everything away, all his books. He kept one book, the book he read every day, the money that he had, his possessions, his books. He gave everything away. You don't need also to be so extreme. We don't all have you also have to be careful that you don't want to do like this other master who gave everything away thinking he was going to die. I mean, he actually even gave away his home, and he wanted to die in Tibet. He went to Tibet. He was there meditating, hoping to die in meditation. But he just wasn't dying. He went back to the United States, and he wasn't able to get back his stuff. So start from the simply fact that just open a closet or two at home. And the things that you see that don't have a function, give them away. The possibilities are 4, actually. You give them away. You gift them, you throw them away. Or you give them a function. The 4th one, or you sell it. These are the possibilities. And when you're face to face with those pants or that jacket, and you don't wear them anymore because they don't even fit, and they're just taking up space. At home, I was cured, let's say, with my my objects of attachment, thanks to my puppy Dana. When she was really tiny, she just ate through everything, including a tanka of Lama Tsongkhapa. But this first power in front of death is going beyond this attachment that we have to our possessions, because they actually block us from dying well. And it just also helps for our life, because the consequence of this first power is being able to distinguish between what I want and what I need. We need to review our needs. The second power
sarebbe il potere dell'aspirazione.
The power of aspiration. In just a few words, it means transcending the attachment to this body. So the first is about material possessions, and the second is our body, because when we die, we're going to leave our body as well. it means that gradually we generate an identity that transcends our body and our name. We remind ourselves that we are not this body, and little by little be less attached to the image and how people see us and our physical appearance, except that the normal thing that happens is to degenerate over time, because, oh, I've gotten old. Oh, I mean, that's a great sign. You've managed, because the alternative is to die before. But we live in a cultural context where we see that getting old is a kind of defeat, and that's absolutely ridiculous, because we don't have a choice. I don't know. Is there a way to not get old? Yeah, there are ways to get old well, with a healthy body, with a healthy mind, with a stable economic situation. These things are possible. With healthy relationships, but it's not possible to not get old, you know. And just as like dying is not a problem, getting old is not a problem. The problem would be to get old badly. When does the process of aging begin? After 25. On a neurological point of view, it's explained to me like this: so when someone is born, they start growing, and that process of bodily development and cerebral development is finished around 21. And then one is between 21 and 25. That's like the maximum state. And after 25, the degeneration process starts, that begins. So I look around and I think this has been going on for a while. We're already fully in this aging process. What does this mean? I mean, how I eat, how I sleep, how I live my life every day determines how my body transforms, and how it transforms day after day, month after month, year after year. So getting old, aging is not a problem. Aging badly is a problem, because you can age well on a physical level, on a mental level, on an emotional level. I think about my grandfather, for example. I think he aged very well. He died at 101, and several times when I've told this story. But like 86, we were in the mountains here in Italy, and one day he came down for dinner, and he was waiting for dinner, and he was playing a game on his iPhone. I said, "Well, Grandpa, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm just playing this game." I said, do you like this?" He said, "No." "Then why are you playing this game?" He said, "Well, you know, with age, the short-term memory starts deteriorating. So to not allow too much short-term memory loss, you always need to learn new things." So he was putting effort into that, and he reached 101 years old with a trained mind, and maybe around 90. And we were in Italy again, and for some reason they were absolutely fixated with the Dolomite Mountains. It was beautiful. I tried to bring them here, but I said, "Oh, you know, Grandpa, you know, near Albagnano, there are beautiful thermal baths." And he said, no, thermal baths are for old people." So he was 92 years old. I don't know, but
Però è il
but
fatto di
this
mantenersi allenato.
we should keep ourselves trained.
Quando era in ospedale,
When my grandpa,
all'epoca
when
96,
he was in the hospital, he was about 96. He had a heart surgery,
prima di tutto arrivi in
and
ospedale,
first
devi
of all,
andare a fare l'intervento, vogliono toglierle la dentiera.
he got to the hospital,
Ma sono i miei denti, cosa fa?
and they wanted to take out his
Che non fosse il suo.
his
Qualche giorno dopo
fake
gli danno da
teeth,
mangiare in ospedale le pastiglie,
and
cose
he, I
che
mean,
si arrabbia.
he only had one tooth. He said, "Why are you taking out my teeth?"
Oh, datemi
Um,
qualcosa da masticare.
so um, and gave him some kind of soft soup, and he said, "No, give me something that I can chew on." So if we don't use our body, um, it also deteriorates. So we do have a solution to aging badly. So the second power has to do with seeing our body as a means and not as an end in itself. And we don't identify ourselves in this body. We accept the natural process of transformation of aging.
Ok. Difficile?
Is that difficult?
In parte sì.
On one side, yes, but not that hard.
Partiamo dal
Let's
primo punto che è
start
ricordare
with
di ripetere a se stessi.
that first point where we repeat to ourselves that there's nothing wrong there's nothing wrong with dying. The problem is dying badly. There's nothing wrong with aging. The problem is aging badly. And there are solutions to those. So to conclude this power well, you need to get to a point where you're able to feel that this body, as Lama Ganchen used to say, is like a hotel room, something that we use today, and one day we're just going to leave it and say goodbye.
C'è un esercizio per
There's an exercise to do this
sono inventato.
that I've invented that I think it's helpful.
È l'esercizio di scrivere
It's an exercise where you write an introduction letter.
prendete carta e penna.
Take paper and pen, not on the computer.
Carta e penna.
Paper and pen.
E scrivete una lettera,
And write a letter where
andrete a
you
dire chi siete.
you say who you are,
In modo se
so
qualcuno
that
dovesse trovarvi in mezzo
if someone were to come across you in a crowd with that description, they'd be able to find you. But there are some basic rules to this.
la prima regola non
The first rule is that we can't talk about our body.
si può dire
We can't say, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm tall, I'm short, my hair's like this, my hair's like that.
possiamo dire il nostro nome,
We can't tell
non possiamo
our name.
parlare
We can't talk
delle
about,
nostre cose materiali,
we can't write about
proprietarie di quelle
our material things, like I'm the owner of this restaurant, or I'm the position, I'm the lama of this center. We can't talk about our relationships, like I'm the father of, or the husband or wife or son of.
non possiamo parlare
We can't talk about
sociali, il medico,
social aspects, positions like the doctor, I'm the lawyer, I'm the teacher. You say, well, what am I supposed to talk about? We can't even say
abbiamo fatto. Io sono
things that we've done. We can't say, I'm the one who did this, or who invented this, or did this, that, and the other. No.
possiamo solo
We can only talk about
nostri interni.
inner traits,
Faccio degli esempi.
aspects. For example, just randomly, I'm someone who,
Che quando si trova
that
dinanzi a qualcuno
when he's in front of someone who is in pain, he does everything to help.
che sta male,
Or
di non vederla perché
maybe
ad affrontare la sofferenza.
I'm someone that when I'm in front of someone who's in pain, I pretend to not see because I have a hard time dealing with difficult situations. Or I'm very patient, or I get nervous easily. I'm a loving person, but when I don't receive, when I don't receive the love back, I take away, I close up and I take away my love. Or maybe I'm someone who loves unconditionally, but I still feel bad when I see the way people treat me. So, what are our inner aspects, our inner traits? And we should describe those. And there's, I mean, it's not a rule, but one important aspect, we should not worry if we see any kind of incoherence. I mean, we're made of incoherences. We just write what you feel. A fundamental rule is that no one else can read it. Because if we write a letter thinking that someone is going to read it, we're going to write it differently. Once you finish the letter, the first time it's hard. Define these things. It's a little bit artificial. So you write the first one, you close it up and put the date on it, and then you write the next one, ideally 6 months later. 3 months is possible, but ideally 6 months. And after you write the second letter, 6 months later, you can open up the first letter. And as you do this every 6 months, every 3 months, every 6 months, whatever it is, I gradually relate to myself differently, where I am not my body. This body is part of me. It's a part of me. But there's other parts that, like my conditionings, my habits, my emotional states, my personality on a deeper level. This so-called mental continuum, and the subtle mind, this energetic part of ourselves, and the subtle body, this energetic part of ourselves. So the more I can identify with this part of me, the more I'll be able to not have this attachment to death at the time of death, the attachment to my body at the time of death. Because, I mean, even our body today is not the same body as five years ago. I mean, look at your body and think about your body 5 years before, 10 years ago. I mean, something's changed. And these changes they keep coming. So it's not the same. It's not the same body. And what about your mind? It's the same mind? Or do we think in the same way? Do we have the same emotions? I mean, some aspects are very similar, and also in our body there are similar aspects. You know, you still have two eyes, and you keep seeing with these two eyes, but it's not the same. So what happens is there are instead, I mean, if we take ourselves from our childhood to today, we'll see there's something that connects these various moments and connects this self of today and that self of 20 years ago, etc. I mean, there are emotional states, aspects of our personality, our predispositions. I mean, there's something, it transforms, but there's something that also continues. So an experience finishes, but the one who experienced that is the one that starts the new experience. I don't know if that's clear. So what happens is when I will die, Lama Michel will not be there anymore, understood in with this body in this on coarse form, and this mind in this coarse form, but there will be this mental continuum with the karmic force that I've generated, and the more profound aspects of my mind and my
quando si prende un nuovo corpo,
and
quelle predisposizioni continuano nella forma
when
potenziali, come dei
when a new body is taken, then according when a new body is taken, the seeds will come along with it, and then depending on the conditions, depending on how we water those seeds, how we take care of those seeds, that's what will come out. Very similar to DNA. When we're born in the DNA, there are different studies that show that it's actually a question of probability, and like if you look at identical twins, and according to the conditions of how they were raised, so genetically speaking, we can say that we have potential predisposition, and then if we activate this or activate that, and with the interactions in our life, that is what is going to activate these seeds, this potential. So we bring with us from one life to the next different predispositions, and the ones that we activate is going to depend on the interactions. This reminds me of a time when I was a child and I went to study in India, and Lama Michel Rinpoche said, together with my parents, he said, "You see, Lama, his mind is like a crystal, is pure as a crystal. But if you put crystal in the middle of shit, it's going to reflect shit. If you put it in front of light, it reflects light. We need to put him towards the light, keep him in the light." So this context in which we live, the interactions that we have, they determine what we're going to show, manifest. We can't manifest something for which there are no the potential. For example, if there's no seed, nothing is going to germinate. So this body, on a gross coarse level, it's momentary. On a subtle level, it's momentary. But on a very subtle level, for our body and for our mind, it continues. They both continue. And the more we're able to generate an identity that transcends this body and consequently this name, this image, etc. So I am not this name or this image. I'm not what other people think of me. I'm a togetherness of experiences and predispositions and discernment. I mean, there's an enormous richness. My essence is very deep. And the more I'm able to recognize myself in that essence, the less attachment I have to this body and to my possessions, my name, etc., and the more easily I'll be able to die. So the second power is harder than the first. And as we go on, it gets harder and harder, but possible. I mean, so far it looks feasible. I mean, we can put energy in this direction, can't we? Yes, we can. The third power is called the power of opposition. The power of opposition, just in a few words, means asking ourselves, what do I have today that I do not want to take with me? It's like moving. What do I want to leave and not take to my new house? What are the aspects that I have today that I don't want in my next life? Am I lazy? Am I jealous? Am I arrogant? Am I impatient? Am I sad? Everyone has his own. So observe yourself and look at the deep habits, inner aspects, deep aspects that you don't want to take with you. The only way to not take something with us is by really abandoning it. So this thing I do not want to take with me. As I said before, I don't want to be reborn lazy. What's the only way to do that? Is to overcome laziness today in this very life. So it becomes a priority in our daily life to not nourish our unhealthy and negative habits. And we can do this in two ways. The first one is based on awareness. So, I mean, these are the steps. There are two phases, and the first phase is made up of 3 steps. The first phase is about generating awareness. We stop materializing that habit. The second one is generating the so-called antidote, the opposite. In that first phase, we have three steps. Number 1, we generate awareness about the things we don't want to take with us. Anger, for example. Like, I don't want to get angry. I don't want to be reborn with so much anger. I see that that's not beneficial. I want to abandon this habit. I want to be free from this. The first thing is awareness. We start observing. I start observing myself, and when I get angry, when you're able to do that first step, what happens is one realizes when one sees when one gets angry, but one's not able to stop it. You end up saying stupid things or acting negatively, even if you are realizing what you're doing. In the classic example, I mean, some people come to me and say, Lama, it was better when I didn't know. Today, not only do I get angry, but I also get upset because I get angry and I see that I'm getting angry and I'm not able to not get angry. So actually, if we find ourselves in this state where we realize and recognize a negative habit that we're not able to stop, that's a really good sign, because we're taking that first step of generating awareness. Without awareness, you can't redirect. No one. We gave the example of floors. You can't get to the 10th floor without going through the other, with the first, second, third floor. The second step, I need to put effort to not materialize that habit. For example, anger. I realize that I'm getting angry, but I try not to materialize anger. What is anger, and what does that mean? And there are 3 levels. That second step is made up of 3 levels. So don't materialize it on a physical, verbal, or mental level. So I see that anger is starting to come out. So at first, physically, I don't show my anger. I don't make any weird faces. Maybe I need to stand up. I take a cold shower. I get some fresh air, but I don't react physically taken by anger. The second step is I'm able to be quiet. I don't verbalize anything with that emotion. And the third step is I don't get into any kind of mental dialogue with that emotion. Where we say, "Oh, I know I shouldn't get angry, but look at what's happening. If it's not my fault. I mean, look at what's happening. Somebody needs to say something." So we have this habit of victimizing ourselves and giving a reason, a justification for that negative emotion. And by doing that, we get into this kind of continuous mental dialogue. Instead, we need to look almost from outside, anger that is manifesting, and we say it's only a habit. It's a emotional memory. It arises. We watch it, and we are distanced we take our distance from that emotion, and if when we're able to not respond physically, verbally, or mentally until it just passes. This state of not materializing this emotion is the second step. The third one is about giving continuity to that second one, because our tendency is, okay, I was angry, but I'm able not to materialize it. And then as soon as I distract myself a little bit, boom, I say something, I do something. So when we're able to maintain that position until that emotion passes. And this isn't repressing anger. I see it, but I don't follow it. I don't nourish it. And this is good for, that's right for any habit. And every time that anger or whatever negative emotion it is, when we're able to not manifest physically, verbally, or mentally, when that anger or when that negativity presents itself, arises, we weaken it. And the third is applying an antidote. And that can happen in meditation or even outside of meditation. Outside of meditation session, which is a little easier, it's when artificially we generate a state of calm, of respect, of gratitude that can, for example, can help as an antidote to anger. We can talk more about anger later, but I mean, there's anger based on hatred, or there's also anger. There's also a sign of being arrogant, or there's also anger that is more nervousness based on extreme fatigue. So I try to induce myself into something virtuous as an antidote, something opposite to that attitude that I want to abandon. That's the third one. The danger of not doing it well is that it can be a little artificial. It can be artificial but not fake. What goes together with this is how we practice also during meditation. So first of all, we use a very powerful tool, which is imagination. When I imagine something, it's as if I'm living it. So let's use this example of anger. I sit down, I do the preliminary practices. Ideally, I do the preliminary practices. At least I breathe a little bit. I bring myself to the present moment. And I begin, first of all, with an analytical meditation on patience. And so I see why I shouldn't get angry, the damage that anger does. We could talk about this for a long time, but one moment of anger can destroy years of friendship. One moment of anger can destroy one's reputation and so many other things. If we take the commentaries of Nagarjuna's and texts of Buddha, it says one instant of anger can destroy eons of positive karma. It has a tremendous power of destruction. But on a practical level, just look at how anger can one moment of anger or of manifestation of violence, you can see how that can absolutely destroy a relationship that took years to build. That can happen. So one begins by listing the reasons why one doesn't want to get angry, and all the benefits of not getting angry, the negative aspects of these mental defilements and their negatives. Then I put that analytical meditation on the side. And then I imagine a situation that would normally anger me. And so I'm there, that person comes, does this, that, and the other. I imagine that situation where normally I get angry, and I allow that anger to arise. I mean, we really feel it coming up from our gut. We feel that cortisol that is rising, and the heat that's coming. That anger that's starting to manifest itself. And at that moment, then we take that analytical process again, and we look at ourselves in the eyes, and we say, what are you doing? You know, by doing this, you're just hurting yourself. You're not resolving anything. And we're able, in meditation, to not give space to that anger. We let it pass, and we're able to induce an opposite feeling, love and gratitude, respect. And we induce an opposite attitude. If we do this correctly, the first times we'll end up angry, probably. And as we do it little by little, at the end, we're able to we allow that anger to manifest. We're in a safe environment, and we let it arise and not generate, not follow it, but we're able to also generate that opposite attitude. We imagine that we're able to really give the best of ourselves. And the more I'm able to do that in my imagination, the higher the probability that I'm able to do it once I'm actually physically in that kind of situation. Is that clear? So that third power of opposition is a lot of work. I mean, it's a lifetime work. So day after day, you know, if these are, I mean, the things that I don't want to take with me day by day, day after day, I need to let go of them. The fourth power is called the power of familiarization, which means, so what do I want to take with me in my next life? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to become? What do I want? Sorry, this is the next one. What do I want to take with me in my next life? What are the things that I would like to be, that I want to be? Okay. I want patience and joy, awareness, concentration, harmony, peace. These are, I'd like to have, I'd like to be more familiar with the spiritual path. And so for that, I need to actively familiarize myself with what I want. And here it's a little, I mean, it seems like a serious joke when we say it's better to be an artificial, altruistic person than a spontaneous and natural selfish person. So I'm sincere, but I need to put effort into generating these minds of generosity and respect. And the more natural it becomes, the deeper it is in me, and the more sure I am to take it with me after death. The fifth power is called the power of aspiration or of prayer, where we allow ourselves to see ourselves after this life, and we ask ourselves, what do we want after this life? What do I want for myself after this life? What do I want to do? Where do I want to be reborn? We allow ourselves to have this sense of continuity and generate this desires for ourselves that transcend this body, this life. Are you following?
Quindi,
So, how are we preparing ourselves for death? No attachment to material things, and we use them in a virtuous way. Non-attachment to our body, generating an identity that transcends this body and this identity. Also facing our aging process. Recognize the deep habits that we have that are detrimental, and deciding to not taking them with us, instead recognizing what positive qualities we want to take with us, and we put effort into cultivating them. And number 5, we generate desires that go for ourselves, that go beyond this life. Is it very easy to do these 5 things? No, but is it possible? Is it within our reach?
È alla portata di tutti.
It's within everyone's reach. It's possible. It's described that when you're able to do these 5 things, that gives the security to not only die well, but to be reborn well, to give continuity to these favorable conditions. The second power, so it's already so much. And what's interesting is, if someone says, well, if there's nothing after death, well, at least you lived well, because in this lifetime, if I have less attachment to material things, less attachment to my body, and accept my aging better, diminish negative attitudes, and cultivate positive ones, and have a positive view for my future. I mean, these are all things that help us also during this life. So it prepares us for death, but it also helps us to live this life very well. Another important aspect is there's the practice of POA, and there are different types. I don't know how much time I want to invest in this.
Ok, dilunghiamoci un po'.
Okay, let's spend a little time on this. We have today, we have tomorrow. And I took the commitment to not be in a hurry with these teachings. So to understand this practice well, we need, first of all, we need a basis. Minimum is understand what is death and how it comes. So briefly, and then tomorrow we can talk about it more and in more detail. Let's look at what death is. In Tibetan, we use the term
Chiwa Össel.
Chiwa and Össel. It's the clear light of death. So if you need to point your finger, where is death? This process of death is made up of 2 parts. There's the process of the dying process, on a coarse level and on a subtle level. And each one is made up of 4 parts. So there are 8 passages. The first part, which is called the coarse dying process, where our physical body on a coarse level, the gross body and gross mind, it loses strength and stops working, and that's normally what we call death, and we say the person has died. When the heart stops beating, when there's no more breathing, normally it's what we call death. And this process is divided into 4 parts, and you can describe it in different ways. But commonly, we talk about the elements to understand the passages. So it's divided into this. The first passage is earth dissolves into the element of water. And let me just go back. So there are 4 elements. There are 5 elements. So what's the coarsest of elements? Air, like to space, or earth? So earth is the most coarse. What element can melt and use up, let's say, earth? Water. And what is the enemy of water? Is fire. And what can use up fire? What can extinguish fire? Is wind. And space can absorb, let's say, wind. So earth, water, fire, wind, and space. This is the order. So earth dissolves into water, water dissolves into fire, fire dissolves into wind, and wind dissolves into the space of consciousness. Tomorrow, I didn't tell the shop, but we have a little booklet. It's called the Dying Process. We did this many years ago, and so this process is detailed. All these passages are clearly detailed in this little booklet of the dying process. So without getting into details, but that first sign of dying, where earth dissolves into water of our senses, which is the coarsest of them, is our eyesight. That first sense that ceases is our eyesight. And it's interesting that it is this dying process that really, it mirrors falling asleep. When we fall asleep, the first sense is our vision. When when you're so tired, you can't even keep your eyes open. You can't reason so much. Your body becomes heavy. I think I think everyone you've had this experience where you fall asleep somewhere where you shouldn't fall asleep, and you have that feeling of falling. That feeling of falling is a sign of the dissolution of the earth element into the water element, and it's one of the first signs of the dying process. So one of these the first sign are that the arms and legs become weak. It's difficult to keep our eyes open. The mind is less clear. The logic, conceptual part is less focused, less clear. There's an inner sensation of falling. I remember a lady who died here in Albagnano, and a few days before dying, she would constantly sit up. She would sit up. She was always, and you say, well, why don't you lie down? No, because I feel like I'm falling. It's a classic sign That first process of the dying process is the dissolution of the earth element dissolving. We lose our stability. So earth into water, and then water into fire. The body starts drying up. We lose our ability to hear. Sounds become far away. We lose the feeling, and um, this suffering or pain or even pleasure. We lose the distinction. So, and then the fire into wind, and the body starts becoming colder. First, the hands and the feet. One loses also um, um, the sense of smell and taste, and ability to discern things. Then, then, then this wind, air, dissolves into space. That's even when fire into wind, one starts little by little to have a irregular breath, loses the ability um, um, to discern and to name things, and to this contact with the external world is lost. Also, being able to discern between what you want, and then the final one, with the wind into space, one stops breathing and one technically is dead. But according to Buddhist view, one is still not dead, because and until one has completed the process and the subtle death, one can still go backwards. You're still in the dying process, but not actually dead. So then there's coming the subtle death process, divided into four. We can use colors. There's a white vision, a red vision, black vision, and clear light. Just look at the mandala in the center, for example, on the ceiling. You see the circles at this around. You see the 32 stupas in the middle. There is white in color. And then there's we have the 32, and then so we have these are connected to this subtle dying process of white vision, red vision, black vision, and then the yellow would be the clear light. So what happens? So we would need to study a little bit of subtle body anatomy. Our subtle body is, it's something physical, but it can't be perceived by the naked eye or our senses directly. It's made of channels, winds, and drops. The channels are strongly connected to our lymphatic and nervous system. The wind is connected to our nervous system, also like our blood pressure and our arteries. And the drops are connected also to like our hormones. I'm trying to simplify. I can't say the course that the course I can't say. There's definitely a correlation, but I can't say this is from the subtle body to a gross body. Can't say this is this or that. So we have 5 primary winds and 5 secondary winds. Wind is the translation of prana from Sanskrit. Is translated as energy. But in Sanskrit, prana, there's another word which is is Vayu, which is cinnamon, which literally means wind. That's what, and the Tibetans have used the word wind, and the Chinese use chi or ki in Japanese. So these winds, as pranas, there are 5 primary winds and 5 secondary winds. They, the primary winds make reference. There's there's the all-pervasive wind. There's the descending wind. There's the there's this all-pervasive wind. There's there's the wind related to a digestive fire, and then the secondary winds. And they say, to understand the winds a little bit better, if you think about raising your hand along your subtle energy winds, there's a wind that moves, that goes towards the hand and makes it so that you're able to lift your hand. Our view, our understanding of medicine, I mean, what's the most similar of that would be our nervous system. So if there's a block in the channel, then it doesn't move. So what happens is, in the death process, little by little, this part of this subtle body starts losing strength. The subtle body, as I said before, it's made of channels. There are 72,000. We can count them, actually. We have the central channel, the main channel, the 2 side channels. So the central channel starts from our forehead, goes like the handle of an umbrella straight down our spinal cord, near our spinal cords, and then comes back in right at the base of our spine. And the side channels start at our nostrils, and they go side by side to our central channel, and they enter a central channel about 3 fingers under our navel. From our heart, there are 4 main channels, and from each one of these 4, there's a secondary channel. So we have 8 channels at our heart, and from each one of these, there are 3 channels. So now we have 24. And from each of the 24, there are 3. 3 times 24, there's 72. And from each one of the 72, there are 1,000. Now we get to 72,000. And then when you study this in a more detailed way, there are also the 3 types of channels, what they are. There's, the prevalence of one's bile, wind, or fire. So without getting into these kind of details, Tibetan medicine has a very, very detailed study of the subtle body. Then there are also the bindu in Sanskrit, the drops. They are like energetic aspects, but they have also a physical aspect. It's matter, but matter that cannot be seen by the naked eye. The way you can see blood or an organ, it doesn't move with the fluidity and the speed of the winds. And there are specific points in our body where they gather within our body. There are different types of bindu, of drops, that are strongly connected to our emotions. So it induces, these drops can induce a certain emotion, and our emotional states, and our drops are mostly, they're 2 different kinds, attraction and aversion. So we have at our crown chakra is where there's the white bodhicitta that comes from our father, from the essence of the sperm of our father, and towards our navel and our secret chakra, there is the red bodhicitta that derives from the feminine energy of the ovum of our mother. So the masculine part is connected to aversion, and the feminine drops, essence, is related to attachment. So within our central channel, there are these 72,000 channels. They meet at certain points. And these meeting points of the channels, they're called chakras. At our crown, at our throat, our heart, our navel, and our secret chakra. Within the chakras, something that happens is that these two side channels, they wrap around the central channel before then going down. So we mentioned that this happens at our forehead, our crown, our throat, our heart, our navel. Imagine. So these side channels, they wrap around the central channel before continuing down. And it's said that within our lifetime, we use mostly our side channels when the energy goes within the central channel, that brings a deeper state of consciousness. So we're able to absorb the energy from our extremities to our side channels to our central channel that brings to a deeper state of consciousness where we lose contact with the outside world. And this happens when we fall asleep deeply. This happens when one experiences an orgasm, or when one falls asleep, faints. So it's possible to induce this absorption in these ways. And the one sign is that one loses the contact with the five senses. What happens? Since we use mostly our side channels, and emotionally we're mostly taken constantly by attraction and aversion, it's described that but our side channels become very strong, and they actually they strangle our central channel, and so knots are created at our chakras. So at our crown and our throat and our heart, our navel, and our secret chakra, that keeps the energy from flowing correctly. And at the time of death, as the different winds reabsorb, it's as if those channels, they go from being very rigid. They become weak. So they loosen up those knots. So first we loosen up the knot at our forehead and our crown, and then our throat and our heart. As the knot loosens, it's said that the white bodhicitta comes down through the central channel until it reaches the heart, and then the red bodhicitta that has a warm nature comes up to the heart chakra, and at the center of our heart there is what is called the indestructible drop. The indestructible drop is what is formed at the moment of conception. It's the essence of the father and the mother energy. It's like a kind of nut, like a walnut. You can know like a walnut, and within there's that indestructible drop, and that doesn't open up until one actually dies, and it's within the heart. So during the dying process, the white bodhicitta goes from the crown to the heart, and it's absorbed in the top the 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 top of this nut, which is white in color, is made of the essence of the Father's energy, and the red bodhicitta is absorbed into the lower part of that, the nut of the indestructible job. So when the white bodhicitta descends, it's the white vision. When the red energy, the red bodhicitta ascends, it's the red vision. And then this indestructible drop actually flips, and the red continues to rise, the white continues to descend, and that's the black vision. When one experiences the white vision, it's said that everything, it's as if everyone, it's as if one is able to review all the experiences of aversion, these experiences, moments. It's like you relive them. And before that, it said that there's this moment where wind is absorbing into space. One like sees one's life passing before one's eyes, but this next step is similar to that, but it's emotional. It's not visual. So first there's aversion, and then there's the part of attraction. And when there's that so-called black near attainment, is a kind of total blackout where everything is turned off. There's no more sensation. There's no more discernment. There's no perception. There's absolutely nothing. It's as if it's like the end of everything. At a certain point, what happens? The white bodhicitta goes towards the bottom. The red bodhicitta ascends, and the indestructible drop opens up. When the indestructible drop opens, the very subtle mind and body that is within, they become self-evident. The very subtle mind and body become self-evident. There's no longer a coarse body, coarse mind, subtle body, subtle mind. And this is called the moment of clear light. It's said that it's similar to the first rays of dawn for the autumn moon. Without any kind of humidity. After, so the first rays of sun, that light after a new moon. So it's that very subtle-minded body becomes self-evident, and these initial rays of pure light fill up this space, become this luminous space. It's called the clear light of death. And when someone dies, they die when the indestructible drop opens. Until that indestructible drop opens, one can actually go back. I have a friend who saw the whole film of his life, flash behind his eye, and was reanimated. I mean, he felt that he just saw everything. He woke up, he was being reanimated. And in the Buddhist texts, this is possible. They talk about actually meditators who are able to induce this whole process to then go backwards. And there's a whole reason, a whole explanation to that. It's not something we're going to do today. So what happens is, this to give you an idea of the actual death process, the dying process. And when the clear light manifests, from clear light, There's the first rebirth, which was without a coarse body, which is the rebirth in the bardo, and then there's another rebirth with an actual physical body. And tomorrow we can also talk about the bardo and can talk about the actual the physical rebirth process, just to take away some doubts. But why should we understand well this dying process? Number one, because then I can recognize when I am dying, I can understand what's happening. I have this feeling of falling. I start losing the ability to connect to my senses. It's important for us to be able to recognize death when it's coming. So from the dissolution of Earth towards the dissolution of the wind into space, for a normal person, without a very serious disease that imbalances the body or some kind of surgery. Normally, the normal process takes about 3 days. So when we say that, take away this myth of not touching a body for 3 days after they die, when someone dies, was that person able to and be aware of their death? And if that person is able to be aware of the dying process and enter into a state of meditation and take advantage of the clear light, then it's better not to touch that body, like it happened to Geshe Thupten Rinchen when he left and he died in Bern. And when he died, the lamas went to the doctors and they said, in our tradition, we don't touch the body for some time. And they said, okay, when it starts maybe smelling badly, or there's signs of the initial decomposition, at that point, then we move the body. And they said, okay. And the nurses would come, and it lasted about 15 days. He was able to go and see him. He was dead on a gross level, but he was in the state of clear light and had all the signs of being in the clear light. He didn't lose the brilliance. I mean, you can definitely see when somebody's alive or someone's dead. Just from the brightness of one's complexion. I don't know if you've had your own experience of like the before and the after. It's for me, it was really quite interesting when I saw the first time. So when someone dies, but it's not actually completely dead or just still in that subtle dying process, there's still the brightness. And I've seen this twice with Geshe Thupten Rinchen, and also with another Rinpoche in France. And it's interesting. And in 15 days, I mean, the body's not decomposing, but it keeps the heat around the heart, and actually it has a fragrant smell. And in Switzerland, the doctors just couldn't believe it. They were going every day. Every day they were going, and nothing was happening. He was still there. He was still there. And then, after 15 days, at a certain point, they did the specific prayers to conclude that process, and then he left his body completely. So, what's the essential point in all of this? What is it? Why is this important to us? Is that along this process, one of the key moments is when the death process begins, when the coarse parts lose strength and the subtle parts become more evident. So the coarse body and mind lose strength, and and the subtle mind and body becomes stronger, they're going to the course. The subtle body follows the course. The coarse mind follows the coarse mind. So if I fall asleep with with certain emotional state, and if I fall asleep in a certain emotional state, I'm going to have dreams that following those same emotions and minds, and the same thing for death. So it's really important to die with a virtuous and peaceful mind, a mind of gratitude and love, of positive, virtuous mind. This is the most important thing. So what happens once I enter into the death process and I can induce naturally, or I'm able to induce an inner state of gratitude and love and faith and peace, etc. That allows me to, that as the gross mind loses strength and the subtle mind follows suit and directs the very subtle mind. So that inner state is the condition to access a type of karma that will show up, that will ripen in the bardo, and will determine our new rebirth. So if I fall asleep angry, I'll probably dream of being angry. If I fall asleep feeling loving and gratitude, I'll probably dream of feeling loving and gratitude. So that determines. So when I die, to direct my mind virtuously, I need to create bridges. I need to create some kind of hooks, links. If I can think of someone for whom I feel gratitude and love, and I think about that person, I mean, what kind of feeling am I going to generate? Love, gratitude, and faith. So that's why if during our lifetime, when we generate, for example, a deep feeling of love and faith for our spiritual master, with Guru Buddha, or for Jesus or the Madonna, if you're a Christian practitioner, I mean, it's not determined by the religion. It has to come from something. So when I think of that thing, I connect to those positive feelings, and that is the bridge that's going to connect. That's going to, connect to those feelings anytime I need. So the examples that we gave before of the one who recited Lama Ganshin's mantra or recited refuge, when I accompanied people who were dying, sometimes they were people who didn't have a Buddhist faith. They were Christian. That's absolutely fine. And you do the same visualizing Jesus. There's one case, for example, my mother was accompanying someone who was dying. It was a man who had so much resentment, so much anger, so much resentment. It was a very rich man. He had basically a whole hospital in his home. And it was very difficult for him because all the nurses, everyone, they would leave soon after. He would yell at them, he would curse at them, and they called my mother to help, and they said if he treats you badly, that's normal. She went there, she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything at all. She was there for an hour without saying anything, thinking, how can she connect to this person? After an hour, she said, "Do you want me to come back?" He said, "Yes, come back." And then before going back, she said, "What am I going to do?" I mean, the classic methods that she knew, they weren't going to work. So she thought, well, he's gonna treat me badly anyway. She had two intuitions, and so she said, "I'm gonna try." So she brought this CD. It was like a Nina Nana, a lullaby in Hebrew. She so a man, very is an older man. He's very well learned. You know, maybe he's gonna send me off. But so she played this lullaby, and after a while he started crying, and he started talking about his mother, who um, went to a concentration camp, and he spent his entire life with with that knot inside of having lost his mother without knowing, without saying goodbye and without saying anything. So through this was some kind of hook to bring him to a virtuous state. Is that clear? I mean, this can happen in so many different ways. But if we're able now to create that hook and familiarize ourselves with that, I mean, we don't all have this good luck of finding someone who has this intuition of bringing out these positive feelings in us. So it's important for us to cultivate this within ourselves. And when we have a specific reference point, if in Buddhism we talk about the relationship with Guru Buddha, this relationship of love and faith. At the beginning of the Lam Rim teachings, we explain this in detail. You cultivate this in detail. You imagine yourself inseparable with Guru Buddha, close to Guru Buddha, and before dying, you do this visualization, this meditation that naturally will bring you to this place, and this will guarantee you a good, a positive death and a positive rebirth. So it's not about learning a certain mantra with a certain melody. No, you need something that to really access that feeling of trust and love. This is the essence of Poa. And then there are visualizations to help to direct our very subtle mind to come out of the central channel from the very subtle mind. But the practice of Poa won't work without that hook, without that commitment. If you have that commitment, you can always add things, but we've already resolved so much. So if we can work on the 5 powers and a reference point, an inner refuge, our refuge that brings us to an inner state of peace and love and faith. These 2 things, give us a very important, a certainty. And this means cultivating all of this during our life, our lifetime. Tomorrow we'll go into more details. I want to explain the bardo and the rebirth process, just also and the visualizations that go with them. But the objective of these 2 days, of this part of the path, is to bring to our life the normalization of death. So dying is part of life, and to live it well, we need to integrate it. We need to integrate death into our life, learning how to prepare ourselves, having more familiarity with death itself, learning how to prepare ourselves for death with awareness, or the five powers, etc. This is a marvelous, marvelous gift that we can give ourselves. And as we said this morning, it's really it's something that is going to turn upside down our priorities. I mean, maybe this is already already your priority, but normally when you pass from not being aware to being aware of your own mortality, your priorities will radically shift. And this is all up to us to cultivate this. It's said that, just to conclude this part, someone might say, "Oh, but the POA can't. The POA needs to be done by the guru." It's said that this the hook the hook of wisdom and love of the guru to bring someone requires the ring of the one to be hooked. You need the ring of faith. Now it's time for our dedications.
Jetsun lame kutse rapten chi namkar chinle chokchur gepa dang losan tempe dreme sasumgi drove munsel takto ne gyor che kewa kunto yanda lama dang dralme cheki pela longche ching Sada lamge yunde rabzo ne dorje change kopa nyur toba sho nimo dele tsen nime kuyan delek shin ninsen takto delek pe kuncho sumke chingelo kuncho sumke ngodrubot sol Kuncho sumke trashisho. All'alba o al tramonto.
At dawn or at dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to obtain all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Buona serata a tutti.
Have a nice evening, everyone. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10:30. If you'd like to come for a quick greeting, a quick hello, I'm here.